This video is a complement to my monthly crochet tutorial for April 2020. You can subscribe to my newsletter so you can receive the tutorial directly in your inbox by following the link below the video. And if you are interested in my crochet tutorials, why not subscribe to this YouTube channel as well? Currently in the newsletter, we are discussing how we can insert our hook in our work in different ways. This is one of the great freedoms of crochet, since you have only one loop on the hook. When you have finished your previous stitch, you can insert your hook for the next stitch almost anywhere. I'm just going to show on this mini swatch, without making a stitch, the different ways you can do this. So by default, you are going to insert your hook here to make it pass through both loops of the stitch. So while you work in general, you see your work like this, but if you just turn it over so you can see the top of the row, it's very easy to spot the two loops at the top of each stitch. So if nothing else is specified in the pattern, by default, you insert your hook under both loops, like this. But you can also insert your hook only through one loop. To know which one, the loop closest to you is always the front loop, and the loop furthest from you is always the back loop. This has nothing to do with the right side or wrong side of the fabric, and everything to do with how the stitch presents itself to you when you hold it in your hand. So I was going to work in the row from this side. When I turn my work over, the front loop is this one and the back loop is this one. I'm going to demonstrate how to make the stitch without actually making a stitch, only inserting my hook in this mini swatch. First, through the front loop only. This means I'm only going to use this loop of the stitch, and I will insert my hook like this under the front loop. So this is a swatch in double crochet made working through the front loop only. And you can see that you have these thin ridges horizontally on the fabric. And this is actually the back loop of the stitch left free when you have worked through the front loop on the other side of the swatch. So this is reversible because I have worked through the front loop on both sides of the swatch. What this gives us is a quite soft and drapey fabric. It will be a little bit taller. Every row will go a bit further height-wise than if you put a hook through both loops. I also feel that it's, as I said, softer, drapier, and in my personal opinion, a bit more of an elegant way to work double crochet. This is a lovely stitch for shawls or garments. You can also work only under the back loop, so through the back loop only. This means I will insert my hook like this in the middle of the head of the stitch and put it through the back loop of the stitch. So here is a swatch worked in double crochet through the back loop only. And as you can see, this makes for a much more textured fabric. Working through the back loop pushes the back of the stitch to the front of the fabric, and it's of course reversible since I work back and forth and in the same way on both sides. So this gives a very textured fabric with strong ridges horizontally over the fabric. It looks a little bit like ribbing. I found that it doesn't work so well for ribbing since it doesn't really spring back as much as you would like ribbing to do. Of course, you can stretch it out and it will go back to its shape, but it will not really tighten up around a wrist or whatever, or a brim of a hat, for example. But it gives a lovely textured fabric. Now, working through the front loop only or the back loop only is something fairly common in crochet. But when experimenting with different ways of inserting my hook into a double crochet for this tutorial, I used what I'm going to call, a bit jokingly, the bonus loop. So this is not common crochet terminology, so don't quote me on this one. And if I pull apart the fabric a little bit, it will be easier to see what I call the bonus loop. So we're going to try to focus on this stitch. So these are the 2 loops on the top. If I'm going to work into the back of the stitch, because I just turned my work over, I'm going to insert my hook here into this hole. So I pass through both loops. But this space is closed by this loop, which is the one I call the bonus loop. So to work into this one, I insert my hook like that. And we're going to see the effect this will have. This is the swatch in double crochet worked through what I call the bonus loop. So please remember that the bonus loop is not common crochet terminology. It's just my way of describing it. Perhaps you will react to the fact that the swatch doesn't seem to be very straight. This is only because I experimented with different treatments of the selvage stitches. But let's concentrate on the fabric. Working through the bonus loop will push the top of the stitch towards the front of the fabric. And what you can see here, these kind of chains leaping horizontally over the fabric, is just that. The top of the stitch when I worked through the bonus loop on the other side. So this is yet another way to get a very original texture on your double crochet fabric. It will of course affect the height of the rows. They will be much shorter. Also, this is something that you can generally achieve also using post stitches, but this fabric will stay much softer than a fabric with post stitches. So if you like the texture and you want to make a pillow or something, you can experiment with post stitches to achieve this. But if you want to make an accessory or a garment, this is a very nice way to have this interesting texture and keeping the fabric soft and somewhat drapey. Not as much as the front loop double crochet, but it's still really light and soft. So these are 3 different ways to insert your hook into your fabric to make a double crochet with very different fabrics as a result. If you enjoyed the video, don't hesitate to give it a thumbs up, because this will help other people find it. If you want to subscribe to my channel, I'd be very happy. And do remember that if you want to subscribe to my newsletter and receive a monthly crochet tutorial directly in your inbox, the link is in the description below. Thank you very much. Bye bye.